Joining us to talk about what happens now is our friend Dr. Jeffrey Gardere, America's psychologist, joining us. Hey, Doc, how are you, sir?
Steve, how are you doing?
Good, good. Saw you on CNN, looking good, and
thank you, brother.
Pleasure to speak to you. Okay, so I think we're not going to disagree or agree on probably anything here because you're the expert, and I want to find out from you. All right, so first of all, let's start with maybe we're working backwards, but let's start with what these girls are now facing, and let's start with Amanda Berry, who apparently has a child. But in general, what are all three of these women who have been held for so long, now they see literally the light of day and reunite with their families? In one case, one of the girls' mothers died, they say, of a broken heart. So what are these girls up against?
Well, it's the reintegration back into society that's going to be the toughest thing for them. Of course, living in that house of horrors, they were already suffering emotionally, having their issues with PTSD, depression, anxiety, feeling certainly not enough reality testing going on in there to know what the real world was about. So it is about making the transition from that microcosm out into the macro and dealing with the mom who died and dealing with relatives that they haven't seen in years, and the fact that their childhood was interrupted at a very critical time. Can you imagine, Steve? Those were the years, 14, 16, 19 years old, where you're going to proms, where you're starting college, but instead they were living in this house of horrors, and now they have to be able to reacclimate back into the world, carrying all of those emotional scars.
Now, we don't know what happened, but let me ask you maybe a stupid question. These girls, well, I would assume they probably knew where they were living. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I would assume they knew that they were close to home. I mean, not far, not in a deserted wooden cabin somewhere, 100 miles away. Did that make it all the much worse for them, knowing that right outside basically were their loved ones and familiar grounds?
You're the first person who's asked that question and actually pondered it out loud, and I think it's an excellent point because does it become more tortuous when you, in fact, know that you're so close to home, so close to escape, but yet it is so far? So I guess the bottom line is if they knew that, then I think that made that torture they were going through exponentially worse.
How does and thank you. That's why they pay me the big bucks is what I'm supposed to say. But I won't go there. Let me ask you about Amanda Berry. Having a child, obviously she loves that little girl if it's hers through one of the men, which we assume it is, because she made sure that she was with her and that she got out and all that. What's the conflict? I mean, does she ever? How does in those situations, or in a situation of rape when you have a child, how do most women look at that child?
Well, initially it's extremely difficult, of course, because when you look at that child, in many ways you're looking at the face of the person who raped you. But this is, I think, a testament to the human spirit that we hold on to our own. And despite those feelings of that dichotomy that this is how this little girl came into the world, I think as most rape victims, they really do understand that the child is innocent and therefore is as much a victim as mom is in this particular case. And I think this is what keeps them so close together. Now, that being said, knowing that there are genetic behaviors, I think there'll always be a concern from this mom that hopefully some sort of, pathological gene is not passed down to her child. But we do know that you don't inherit these behaviors. You're at risk for them, and therefore she will be extra careful to make sure that this child has as much stability as possible so that she never engages in any kind of inappropriate behavior in that way.
Well, Doctor,
so I know she's going to be a great mom.
You read my mind.
Be great.
I'm sorry, you read my mind. We have 2 minutes left, and I wanted to go to these men. And again, we don't know the extent to which the other brothers were involved. We have no idea. But let's focus on, let's say, the bus driver. what kind of person does this? Is this a sexual sadist? Is this a psychopath? Is that, I mean, how do you, what kind of terms do you use to describe what this man has done, or what this man is? Yeah.
Yes, well, this guy definitely is a sexual sadist. That is for sure. Brought in his brothers to be accomplices as far as the sadism, but certainly he is what we deem a pure and total psychopath. And see, very quickly, people in the neighborhood are saying, well, this guy was a little bit charismatic, hanging out, doing barbecues, and I think this is more of a testament that you can be so damn twisted and yet still be out there trying to portray yourself as an average guy. It's almost spitting in the face of your victims to do something so crazy.
I mean, we heard from the guy who rescued Amanda that he barbecued with the guy. He hung out with the guy. They listened to music together. I mean, wow, you got to be. I don't even know what you got to be. I guess a psychopath, right?
Well, he is a psychopath. He, in his own head, he probably feels that he has morals, that he can interact with people, that he didn't kill his victims. Therefore, he's an okay guy. And I bet you dollars to donuts, Steve, he's trying to convince himself that what he did was absolutely okay.
Right.
He probably saved them from a life of poverty or hardship.
Right. They were better off. They were better off with him. Right. Doc, I got to go. But listen, thank you as always, my friend. We'll speak to you soon.
All right, Steve. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Jeffrey Gardere, America's psychologist, ladies and gentlemen. When we come